and start pushing my family around. It's just not going to happen. Ain't going to happen.
Of course, did the tape to send the message out to us. Okay. That, number one, these people are absolutely devoted. Some are very militant. They're prepared to fight. And not only that, if you have any ideas about coming in here, we have these children here, too.
Hey, dude. Come see Tata.
I think anybody who controls people's lives that way and deceives them and abuses them that way, a monster is as good a word as anything else.
Pages, look. Pages. Yeah, this is our little girl, Pages. She's sweetie, huh?
Pages was to die in the fire alongside her father. Altogether, 21 children died. The people inside were not hostages. Some came out, but most chose to stay. When Sheila Martin found the pressure too much, she left behind her husband and their 4 older children.
So we didn't have much time to say goodbye, and we didn't want to feel that you were not going to see them for any more days after that. The last thing I remember is seeing them sitting down and saying, "We'll see you in a couple of days, Mom." And that's all I remember.
2 weeks into the siege, the FBI began what they called stress escalation. They cut off the electricity. Huge loudspeakers broadcast the noises of chanting monks, roosters, bagpipes, and dentists' drills.
They would look at the text of Scripture. They would look outside their window. They would see the tanks outside. And they would read about chariots with blazing torches mentioned in the Old Testament prophecies. And they said, well, perhaps this is what's happening to us today. And as they studied the prophecies and they looked outside their window, they became more and more convinced that the escalating hostilities fulfill the Bible prophecies, that God's people in the last days would be persecuted by government authorities.
We knew the way the prophecy read, some prophecies read, and it looked pretty bad, you know what I'm saying? And I'd say that pretty well everybody there was willing to die if necessary, but you're always praying that if it's God's will that you'll be delivered from it.
Diana.
Sam Henry's family from Manchester recorded a message on video pledging their undying loyalty to their faith and to David Koresh.
I wanted to know about the 7 fields, and I met somebody who can show me the 7 fields. I've come here and I wanted to stay here, and this is where I want to be, and I don't want to leave.
Okay.
This is a life and death situation, and I want to live eternally. And I would like my sisters, my mom, and my friends not to worry about us because we are okay.
They were my flesh and blood. No, if they were the type of children that was a nuisance to society and a plague, as it were, you know, taking drugs and things like that, then maybe, you know, so well. But they were so promising children.
By the beginning of April, there was a clear stalemate. Negotiators getting nowhere. An army of 800 agents outside, and the Davidians sitting tight.
You couldn't really see the tanks because they used to go behind the floodlights. So you only saw a shadow, but you could hear the noise. Weird noises of animals, music, going through the whole night. I think they were trying to grind us down and wear us out. I used to go in my sleeping bag and just pull the zip up.
Well, it stopped us from sleeping. For one thing, I probably existed on 1 or 2 hours a day. My daughter was in the chapel with me, slept in the chapel, sleeping bag, you know. She was scared. had to calm her down a few times because she figured they were going to kill her. You know, she said, if they start shooting and I'm wounded, don't let me suffer, and things like that, you know. And I said, don't worry, everything's going to be okay.
What do you do when you die? What's the sound your body makes when you die?
It doesn't make any sound when you die,
yes, it
David.
Does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. You don't know what you're talking about.
Your last dying breath, is that what you want?
He controlled events, absolutely. And so, you know, I'm horrified as everybody else is. You know, I regret what happened. I've said it several times that we consider it a monumental failure. But it was a failure made certain by David Koresh. It didn't have to be that way. It didn't have to end that way.
They don't believe I'm Christ, do they?
No.
They will when they make me to a carcass, though, won't they?
No.
The FBI never intended to have everyone die inside there. And the Branch Davidians did not intend to die inside Mount Carmel. There was pride and arrogance on both sides. There was firm commitment to a myth, the Branch Davidians' myth of Bible prophecy, and the FBI's myth of the invincibility of their own power.
6 a.m., Sunday the 19th of April, 1993. 51 days after the shootout, the FBI put into action a last attempt to force the Davidians out. Tanks blasted CS gas into the building. As the thin walls collapsed, FBI negotiators broadcast the message, "This is not an assault."
By late morning, you couldn't get down the front hall. Those of us that were in the chapel were pretty well cut off from those on the other end because the continual pushing on the front of the building had pushed all the dividing walls between all the different bedrooms, pushed them out into the hall, so the hall was pretty well blocked. The back stairs here were covered with timbers. When the gymnasium collapsed, the roof of it came down, covered the top part of the stairs. You couldn't get upstairs. So by the time the fire started, people were pretty well isolated from each other in pockets, you know, wherever they happened to be.
Whether the fire was started accidentally or on purpose, no one knows for sure. The wind was blowing at 35 miles an hour.
I remember somebody running in to the chapel saying the building was on fire, and I could hear people behind me rolling on the floor and screaming, and that kind of galvanized me to jump up. I kind of just dived through the dark. I couldn't see the hole. I just dived in the general and slithered out onto the ground. And I thought I was the only one that had made it out. I hadn't seen anybody come out or anything at that point. And I thought, oh my God, I'm the only one, you know, that survived. And I looked over my shoulder, and the hole I came out of was just a mass of flames.